Hello.
Hello, good evening to the Smarten Show. We are so glad that you're here with us, that you are catching this either on the Messianic Lamb Network, Smarten YouTube channel, School Pods Canada Facebook page, and any other place you would like to catch this. And if you're not watching live, we would like you to still send us questions, comments, or anything that you would like to contribute to this discussion about biblical education, school pods, and just education options. So we have been really talking to the community and attending events, and we have been really trying to find out what is it that families in different communities across Canada and really across the world would like to know about education, and how are we going to make sure we provide education for our children at this day and age, especially when publicly funded education is no longer seeming like it's serving us. It's the public, the public education is not serving the public. And so parents are really curious about what is there out there for them. And I know we have spoken before in the past about what school pods are. And I think it is time for us to have a show where we discuss education alternatives, options, opportunities, and really what are parents to expect when they're making such an important decision for their family. We know that many times when we participate in different events, people's first question always is, what are pods? What are school pods? What do you guys offer? I'm excited because anything alternative is exciting at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
But what am I excited about, right? And so I guess I would like to start off our show with what options there are available, and we would like to, towards the end, to specifically talk about school pods and the exciting opportunity that offers to communities and to families, so that you would be making an informed decision. And really, being a teacher, I would like to leave you with some discussion questions to discuss at home to plan for your child's education. The days of, I don't have to worry about my child when they come of school age because, I can send them off to school. Those days are over.
Yeah.
And we are really at a time when we have to plan for these things. And you know what? I'm glad to see a lot more emails coming through with parents who say, my child is still a toddler, but I'm starting to plan. I think that is a good way to go about it.
For sure.
I know there are a lot of people out there who feel that, the children are young, don't worry about it, let them play. And we should let them play. But as the parents, we should start planning for the time when they want to, because children do want to learn. You see, one of the examples I give about our son is that before he could even properly talk, he started pointing out to letters. First of all, it was on your t-shirt, then it was all over the place. And we realized he's interested in learning. So why wait till he starts school? Let's start teaching him now. So I'm hoping that you will look at some of our previous shows where we talk about personalities and temperaments and love languages, to combine that with being able to really assess when your child is ready and what kind of education is appropriate for your child. As someone who is a former public school teacher, of course, I've gone through teachers college and I was given a lot of psychology behind education, philosophy behind education. But of course, I was only presented the public education philosophy and whatever went into putting this together. And once I left the public school system, I was actually quite excited because we started looking into homeschooling our son as well, in addition to me pursuing alternative education versus the public school education. And I was quite amazed at the opportunities there were, the choices you have of different styles of teaching and different styles of learning, of um, just the different schools of thought and methodology that was out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost felt like in the public school system that we never see the full opera. Like we don't see the potential that there could
Mm-hmm.
be for education, and the potential for to make things fit our child's learning style. And I understand in the public school system, a lot of the schools are crowded due to lack of funding, planning, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
whatever is involved in that. And really, I would like to spend less time talking about, because it is easy to find out what's going wrong in a system.
Yeah.
And we are here more to speak to you about what else can you do if you're not happy with the public school system that is offered to you, and this variety that I was able to discover of curriculums and everything that you can imagine. We've never really talked about, when we send our child in a public school. So what is your child learning? Is your child learning the classical style, or is your child learning a little bit more of Waldorf? I mean, there are specific Waldorf schools and so forth, but that is not really explored in the public school system. And it seems like it's designed everyone to fit into one kind of path, educational path. And
yeah.
And we're excited that you no longer have to do that, and you no longer have just one choice.
Well, the options available to homeschooling parents have increased exponentially since,
yes,
let's say the 80s and maybe early 90s. I think the
Yes.
90s is when things really started to kind of gain traction, because more and more parents realized that the direction that the public school system was heading was not in their favor. I mean, Christians have been doing that for many years.
Yeah.
A secular education where they teach,
Yes.
evolution is fact and things like that.
Yeah.
That's been an issue for a long time. But when we've gotten into the radical agenda in the past 10, 15 years,
Yeah.
where, you've got the Islamization of a lot of public education, where they're promoting Islam. And listen, if you're a Muslim, God bless you, but you shouldn't be forcing that as the preferred religion.
Right. There should be no preference to any particular religion, because I know there's New Age being promoted. I mean, yoga's become part of a regular phys ed class.
Well,
and that is the philosophy. That is a
yoga's
type of religion.
Practiced in many churches. So, I mean, we won't even get there. But then, when you've
Yeah.
got the radical sex ed agenda,
Yeah.
where it is a flat out grooming agenda. This is what they're doing. They're grooming the children. They're putting confusion into them, and they're taking away their innocence.
Yeah.
And, Yeshua is very clear on that. He says, if you cause one of these little ones to stumble, it would be more beneficial if you had a millstone tied around your neck and your child. As a matter of fact,
it's better for you. Not beneficial, but it will be better for you,
Well,
because of what is going to.
So the judgment that's going to
Yeah.
come as we are corrupting our children, because they are created in the image of God, and we have to give them the opportunity to grow up in innocence. They're not being allowed to do that now. And so you have this explosion of different options where you've got really creative people who have come up with different curriculum. You've got
Yes.
different options. You've now got a lot of groups that can come together. What was that?
I don't know. We had one of our cats just do a quick attack on something here in the corner. Yes, and I've even seen an increase, because we've homeschooled for a few years now.
Yeah.
An increase in homeschool parents who have found that they have a talent for writing curriculums to actually put out wonderful curriculum that's worked for their family. And so really, I think creativity has really gone up, and the options have gone up, and the quality really of what is available out there. Because one of the objections of people who believe that the system is the best choice, the objection is that the children will not get quality education. I don't know, they play all day, or I don't know, you do house chores all day or whatever. That is no longer the homeschooling that we are really experiencing anymore, or the choices we have. And so yes, it's a wonderful time for those who would like to try alternative education, and there's so many resources available to you. So one of the things we want to do today is encourage families that your child will get excellent education,
Mhm.
choosing any alternative. I know the public school system, there are a lot of professionals that have put things together there, but there are a lot of people who have not um, had the best qualities of someone that you would like to put your children's curriculum together. And I'm referring to the sex ed curriculum. And,
When you're in jail for crimes against children, you're probably not the best person to be authoring a child's
sex ed education as
program.
a
Yeah.
program. And so, yes. And so we are finding that the decision making on that, the professionals in the public school system are no longer making decisions that make sense. Like, how come this curriculum was not pulled off our school boards,
Yeah.
and from the schools, and brand new curriculum to be started with new format and new ideas. But
Mhm.
hey, that is something, like I said, it's not something that we can resolve doing this show, but we would like to talk to you about. And I was inspired by this I guess public event in Waterloo, Ontario that we visited,
Mhm.
of different presenters that were there that were offering different options. And so here, many times we get emails and contacts, phone calls by parents who say, I'm not happy with what's happening in the school. What do I do?
Mhm.
I know here in Ontario, the step number one you do is you find, if you would like to find a form, or just write out a letter of intent to homeschool, and just tell your school board, we intend to homeschool our child. We would like to withdraw them from public education. This is who we are, signed the parents.
Mhm.
And here in Ontario, it's as easy as that. I know different provinces in Canada have different requirements.
Mhm.
But really, the basic is just let your school board know that I will homeschool my child. Just to go on the legal side of this, it is within your rights, and you have legal rights to homeschool your children anywhere in Canada.
Mhm.
So there is no legal in any way compromise.
Well,
Oh,
Quebec, it's very difficult.
it is difficult, but it's still legal. You could still homeschool.
Yes.
Yes, you have to follow whatever the public school system is offering you. You have to sign up for a certain method, or not method, but option of
Mhm.
homeschooling, and you have to meet the criteria. It's very much guided by the government of what you can do in your homeschool. And yes, it is difficult to deviate from that, but it is still your legal right to do it.
Mhm.
Yes, the degrees of difficulty may vary from province to province. I know in the United States, there's no issues of homeschooling. Actually, in the United States, homeschooling is there's more tradition of it. There's more it's more popular. In Canada, actually, is homeschooling has been growing the past few years, but Canadians as a whole were not homeschooling. It wasn't
No.
that popular. And when we started homeschooling about 8 years ago, I found that most of the education, most of the curriculum I was looking at was American.
Mhm.
And I'm happy to see that now Canadians are starting to come up with different curriculum, especially in the area of social studies like geography and history, which is specific to a country.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that is the case. And so what you can do is start exploring your options. A lot of homeschool parents, when somebody says, I would like to pull my kid out, their first advice is take some time to it's almost like undo the damage of the public school system where your child wasn't thriving. And
Yeah.
listen, if there are children who are thriving in the public school system because they're the type of person that thrives in that,
Mhm.
that is fine. But the reason a parent would choose to pull their kids out is because their
Mhm.
child is suffering and struggling and not thriving
Mhm.
in that system. And just take some time to take a breath. And even if your children are a little older, involve them in choosing
Yeah.
the curriculum and the style, like what schedule you would like to have for your homeschool. Do you want to join a group, explore the homeschool community in your area? There's usually a community that meets, even if it's not on a regular basis, maybe for field trips, meetups in the park and
Hmm.
things like that. So I am of the philosophy, we both are, that a parent is the first teacher, the first
Yeah.
educator of the children.
Sure.
Uh, that's why God has given us those children, because we are to teach them.
Well,
I mean, the Bible tells us
and it
that.
says train up a child in the way you should go. I mean, it's our mandate, it's our command, because the children have been loaned to us until they
Yes.
are sent out into the world on their own. And it's our job to lay the foundation, give them godly principles, and establish a biblical foundation for them, so they have the tools in order to be successful and protect themselves out there. Now, that's no guarantee, but
Yes.
if you're not going to give them that, and we're seeing the results of that, that when we took prayer out of school,
Hmm.
and when we took the national anthem to take away, nationalism and things like that,
Yeah.
look where we are a generation later, where we've got kids that are as confused as all get out. I mean, and now they're
And
going
there's
to
mental health issues, and there's
oh,
special
massive,
needs in the schools, and there's just a huge rise in health issues and everything.
which is all by design. And so what we have to do is, and it's going to be slow and it's going to be difficult, but we have to take back control of that. And so, again, we reiterate, when we were at the event last week, that we said that you're going to have to sacrifice with the education for your kids now, one way or another, no matter
Yeah.
what you do. If you send them to public school, you're going to sacrifice them. If you're going to rescue them, then, because they are going to get emotionally damaged, they are going to get possibly physically harmed. We've got, them
Yeah.
pushing this, boys being allowed to go into the girls'
Yes.
bathrooms, and we're seeing sexual assaults and stuff like that.
Well,
And so,
just but there has been a division in our society. You have to
yeah.
stay strongly on this side or this side. There's division, so bullying in the schools has increased, and physical harm has increased in schools. Emotional harm.
So if you take the children out,
Yeah.
then it is going to be a sacrifice. It's going to be a sacrifice financially if you put them in a private school or pod or something like that. Or you're going to sacrifice with time, as if you're going to homeschool them.
Yeah.
And it
One
might mean,
parent has to leave. One
and
parent has to leave their job in order to
if
do that.
both of them are working, so there's a
Yeah.
financial cost anyway.
Yes.
But the question you have to ask is, how much are my kids worth it?
Absolutely. So, and this is who we're talking to today: the parents who find that their child is not thriving or is not fit for what the public school system has to offer.
Yeah.
And so, here's the decisions. Now, once you pull your child out and you kind of take that time to explore as a family, have conversations of the path you would like to take, there is no path that is better or worse or wrong or right.
Mm-hmm.
That's unique for your family. And so what you would like to do, a lot of parents say, I can't leave my job. I can't leave the business I'm doing, or
Yeah.
I'm having health issues and I'm unable to dedicate that kind of energy to my children.
Mm-hmm.
Or I have other obligations in my life, an adult, like an elderly parent, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things in life. So if you decide that you cannot homeschool your children yourself, then the first obvious option, which is the closest to the school you pull them out, is the private school.
Mm-hmm.
Private schools, a lot of them have been established and put together by a team of people, committees, and so forth, and there are professional teachers in there. Of course, so private schools, at least you know what to expect, and you don't have to make any decisions other than research what school fits the philosophy that fits of your family the best.
Right.
And that's all you have to do. Just choose the school, and then the professionals, the teachers, the support staff in that private school is going to take care of your child's education. We all know that private schools, there's a cost associated with them. And I have to tell you that, yes, they are expensive, but most of the time that is quite reasonable because of the resources that go into putting activities together and creating this environment with options for children to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone here that has homeschooled, during COVID, a lot of parents tried homeschooling, and they know the amount of energy and resources that are required to educate your children. So imagine a school that has hundreds of children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of resources that go into that. Of course, you have to very well. You cannot just send. A lot of parents send their children because somebody said something good about that to a private school because somebody said something good about that. And you know what? You should ask the community.
Sure.
But that does not substitute you going to the school, finding out what materials they have for you, information packages, seeing what's on their website, really researching that. We make really thorough research about all kinds of other things in our life, about decisions, a place we want to work, a career we want to take, right? I think this is an important thing to spend time on. Do the research, because I have got to tell you that I have heard that even Christian schools, some Christians do not agree how liberal they are. Because you have to understand that Christian schools, they're wonderful because they adhere to biblical principles. But each school decides how closely they want to adhere, how liberal they want to be, how inclusive they want to be of the community around them. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to make sure that fits your philosophy and your conviction of how you're to live your life according to the Bible. Of course, there's the secular schools. Again, there you have to make sure that they're not just an expensive version of the public school system. Because just because there's a different philosophy doesn't mean, that's what I'm saying. It's good to ask for people's opinions, but that does not substitute your legwork and your rolling up your sleeves and looking into things, doing your research. It is an important thing. It is an important thing. The community where the schools are and who's in there. They are, I guess, agency who can help you with private school selection.
Yeah, they are out there.
Yes, and nowadays private schools are could be so different, and this is what I like about private schools, because unlike the public school system, you could go to a Waldorf school where the Waldorf philosophy is being taught. You can go to a classical school, where it's more literature focused. So you could have a choice of schools, forest schools, and so forth. What your emphasis is, if you're not concerned about academics, but you want a balance in your child's life of being as familiar with the outdoors as they are with the academics, that's okay too. You are going to go spend your money somewhere. You have to decide what is going to bring the education to your family that is valuable to you. So now moving from private schools. And again, private schools are registered with the government. So you have to find out how closely they have to adhere to government requirements. That's a question you must ask, because they can say we're different from the public school system and they can tell you things. But really, in order for them to be registered private schools, there has to be some adherence to the Ministry of Education of your province that they have to hold to. And so I know there has been a lot of Christian schools, because they're faith-based schools, that they have a little bit more freedom. But I will admit, we haven't looked into private schools much. Our son has been only to a Christian school for a year. And again, we looked into it. I mean, it was the only school in town where we live. So to us,
made the choice easy.
Yes, but
and the fact that you were working there didn't hurt.
Yes, but we did want to make sure. Okay, so I just want to make sure if we have any comments here. Actually, I saw there's a notification. All right, so we will continue to discuss your other options. So let's discuss homeschool, because even the homeschool path is so varied. The way you can do homeschool It's so different. We think homeschoolers, you just keep your kids at home and you do just your family studies together. Once in a while you meet with homeschoolers, but there's just so much more. I mean, I can speak, we've now homeschooled in 2 different areas in the Peterborough area and now in the Niagara area. And I could tell you what's available, and that changes over time depending on interest, right? So this is where now, when it comes to private schools, they're pre-established schools. But when we talk about homeschool, your input, this is where it's community-based. Your input in the community determines what's available to you. And so if you choose to just stay home and just homeschool your family and you're not really interested in the community, then of course the decision is made at home, and that's an easy one. But we believe in community. And so when it comes to homeschool, like I said, every area, every city or whatever is the biggest populated area would kind of draw homeschoolers from the region around it, has some kind of organized activities. Every community has organized activities. I know when we were in Peterborough, we used to have a swim and gym program at the athletic center of Brock University. Not Brock, sorry. Trent University. See, we go from city and there's different universities. I know that changed after some time. So there was some discussions with YMCA. But so what I'm saying is there's a need for a few homeschool parents to come together and say, let's offer something for the community. I know that, there's a lot of communities offer track and field events for the summer so that homeschool kids can compete together. I know that I have a friend who is speaking to local libraries to make them more homeschooler friendly. So either have activities or space available for homeschoolers, or even curriculum and books that would support the homeschoolers as well. So this is where you as a homeschooler could join a community and really contribute. I know that there's moms here in the Niagara region that are organizing field trips for the community. They've decided this is what I'm good at. Their family goes and visits different attractions. And so there's a couple of groups, even in the Niagara region, about field trips and opportunities in the community where you can go as a group, especially when you visit a lot of educational places like science centers and things like that. They have group rates. So if you take only your family, you tend to pay more, and you can save some money as a community to attend. You can have curriculum exchange kind of events, buy and sell in your community. I mean, there's just so much you can do, but you have to join the community and be an active participant. Right? You have to offer gifts and talents. And I know that in some homeschool communities, some parents, if they're busy, they would ask another homeschool mom, can we pay you a little bit of money so that my kids can learn with your kids, and you're doing a great job with your curriculum. I want you to teach my kids like that, because I can't do, if there's an artsy mom or a musical mom or a mom that knows French, or a dad that knows woodworking, whatever it is. That's where homeschool communities come together. Another thing about homeschooling is co-ops, where a group of parents with similar values decide that they're going to meet either once a week or twice a week or once a month or whatever, as often as they want to do, and provide a big group educational experience for their children. I know I ran a co-op with this friend of mine in Peterborough area. We hired a sign language teacher at the time. Which was a wonderful experience, because some of the teenagers in the group actually wanted to work with kids with disabilities. To them, that was a valuable experience. And we were able to provide income opportunity for this teacher who was deaf, and she was having
Yeah.
difficulty finding variety of employment because of her disability. I mean, I thought it was a wonderful ability. I don't find it as a disability. She was a wonderful person to teach. She had a gift to teach the kids. And so we saw that and we hired her. We gave her some money, and that came out to be quite reasonable for what the parents were paying as well.
Yeah.
So it worked out for everyone. And really, when you want to do a co-op, the parents all have to pull together, because I will tell you, if the co-op is left up to one or two individuals the most, it will soon fall apart, because that person is going to exhaust themselves. It's going to run on empty.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, the purpose of co-op is to be a
cooperating with one another.
cooperate, and but people decide that you op, not as opposed to we op. So
Yes.
Mark is giving us his profound wisdom there.
Right. And well, that's the thing. And that's, I want to hear from people who have homeschooled, who have tried private schools, who have tried something else that we don't even know about. I don't know. Definitely, explore. So that's the thing. You want, the more you get involved in your community, the more you have available to you. When it comes to socializations, there are some groups that meet together for social purposes. So they have meetups at a park, at a playground, at some events, social events and community events and so forth.
Well, the idea is it's about community.
Yeah.
And with the government enforcing reliance on it for everything that we do, and it's very sneaky the way they did it. I mean, they started off where you would grade 1, and then eventually they moved it back to senior kindergarten. And then you had junior kindergarten. And now
we had part-time kindergarten. It was just certain days of the week, or just half-day kindergarten. And all of a sudden, we have full-day kindergarten. That's exciting for parents, and it is financially.
Well, sure, because on the other end, they're making it more and more difficult for us to make ends meet through inflation and fractional reserve banking and all that kind of stuff. And so what happens is the parents become more and more desperate. And the government comes along and says, well, we have a solution for you. You can hand your kids over to us.
Yeah, at an age like 4 years old. I remember our son was still napping at 4 when, at that time we had the full day kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, my kid's going to fall asleep somewhere in class. Is there like a napping area?
Well, he's 13. He still naps. But
well, no, not anymore. But
I do.
Oh, you do. Okay. Well, anyway, so that's the thing. We want you to know that there's options, and if your child is developing at a different rate than what is prescribed by the public school system, then you don't have to send them where they will not do well, and it's not going to work with their development.
And the thing is that you've really got to keep on top of them to find out what's happening, because if your child is not thriving, if he's not there, she is not flourishing, then you have an obligation to pull them out. I mean, we have one child that's with us right now in our pod, and she was absolutely dying in school, and your mom was kind of hoping that she would be able to, stretch it out to the end of the term or something like that.
Well, every year is kind of like a new beginning and a new opportunity. But if it happens year after year, don't give it too many years to decide, what, it's still not working.
Yeah.
It's still not there. It's obvious that that's not it. And I know a lot of people are concerned about finances, and that's probably another show we need to do about how to make your educational choice work financially for you.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's tons of homeschool moms and dads out there who have all kinds of tips on their blogs and live feeds and so forth. How do I homeschool on a dime, almost? How do I make it economical? Because you know what? Even if the two parents had good careers, when one's home, you got to do it on a dime at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there's no easy solutions unless you're in the wealthy class, and that doesn't apply to most people. And they've already got schools that they're most likely paying for that they're happy with. So what we need to do is alternatives need to be created and worked on. And this is the thing is, and this is what I spoke about last week at the education event. I said freedom is a lot harder to take back after you've lost it, as opposed to defending it.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I'm glad I'm seeing more parents who are starting to think about their child's education before the child becomes of school age, because that's what should have been done all along,
Yeah.
really.
No question.
Even, and I know when it comes to the public schools, there's a school district that you have to, like, I know here in Canada, especially, they've made it very strict. If you live in this area, you can only go to this school.
Yep.
And, because people are starting to choose the areas where there's, a nicer community and nicer schools. And I know that's very big for the States, because the funding of the public schools there are based on the socioeconomic atmosphere of the community where the school is at, right? So, which is, that's a whole thing. Maybe we should do like the economics of schooling, and another show about that, because it makes no sense. But anyway, we keep on moving along, and so for homeschooling, yes, you can form pods, but they're more of a learning pods where the parents are in charge. The parents have to coordinate. The parents contribute, whether with their skills that they can teach the kids, with their organizational stuff, maybe finding opportunities in the community, resources, and so forth. So that is what learning pods. Some learning pods exist just for the purpose of the kids having a social time together. I know when we moved to the Niagara region, the homeschool group that we joined, they were meeting once a week. And it was, to have, like, a church was offering its gym. So they were doing some sports, we were doing crafts, and the kids were just getting to know one another. We had snacks for them, always have food for the kids. There's this whole thing that homeschoolers, the beauty of homeschooling is that you can also always be snacking.
It's a great thing about working from home too.
Yeah, snacking, except, but anyway, so you have to, that's why we need to have this physical exercise for our kids, because snacking at home is not the best.
Exactly.
I digress. So the homeschool community has really evolved, and I have got to tell you that I am seeing, maybe in the past, most of the homeschool community was made by Christians. Now we have people of different beliefs and faiths, because, like you said, people who don't even follow the Bible recognize that we want to instill values in our children. They're going to make them function in society well, and really carry on our values that we strongly believe in, no matter what they are. And they, even people who are not really in particular religious, they pull their kids out because they want to teach their kids to be more entrepreneurial instead of being employees, and fit into a spot in the system.
Yeah, because the school system isn't teaching you to be independent minded. They want you to be a good little worker drone so that you can be controlled. And so if you're looking for something a little different, I mean, when has personal finance ever been taught? Even in university, I was never taught to.
It's very theoretical in university. It's never practical.
Some can be. I mean, the university that I went to was probably it was a polytechnical institute.
So it was a little bit more practical. When you have the word technical, it's more practical.
Yeah. But, I really appreciated the business degree that I got, but you still didn't really have anything on, well, how do I manage my taxes? I took accounting courses and, tried to jump off a building many times, never worked out, but
that's your way to deal with taxes. That's what you learned on a course.
That's why I never became an accountant.
Right.
But to do to learn personal finance, to learn how to do budgeting, because and I've talked to a couple of university students now, and the amount of tuition that they're paying just absolutely blows me away.
What they pay for a year, we pay for a whole university career, to get a bachelor's degree.
My entire university career cost me around probably $10,000 to $15,000.
That was many years ago, though. You have to remember that. Not
just easy.
I'm not calling you old. I'm just saying things have been changing.
But I was talking to a young lady a couple of weeks ago, and she's spending $30,000 a year in a master's. And I said, you know what? I said, you're probably best to go start your own business. And see, that's the thing right now, is that what they're not teaching is entrepreneurship. I did one entrepreneurship course in my business degree.
Right.
And so they talked, so there was a little bit more, but now they don't want you to start your own business. But even if you do start your own business, do you know how hard it is?
Well, and I believe a lot of people are given just enough with their university or college degrees. Well, university mostly, because that's more the theoretical. And in Canada, we have distinction between university and college. In the States, college is university, university is college. But for us here in Canada, college is actually more practical skills, and university is more of you study the study of something, and so a lot of people who graduate from university find that what they've learned is not very practical to really apply what they have learned. But another thing that was going through my head is, what the public education system gives you is, I saw a little, I don't know if it was a Peanuts cartoon or a little comic or whatever, but it said, they will never teach you what you need to know in order to overthrow the current system and create a new one.
Oh, no.
They will never teach you that. And you know what? You would never teach somebody else what to do in order to replace you.
I always said about Yossi, I was going to teach him how to fight, but I wasn't going to teach him everything.
Yeah. And so we have to understand that that's how human nature works. And so that we have to then decide how we're going to do what's best for us. And this is why we're having this talk.
See, even during slavery in the United States, you weren't allowed to teach your slaves how to read.
Right. So education obviously is a key component to freedom.
Yeah.
And so even if they teach finances and taxes and so forth in school, they will not teach you how to do that independently of the system that already exists, or how to you do it for your benefit and not for the benefit. You know what I mean? So independent thinking is still not going to be put in there. How am I going to take the principles of the system that I exist in and then make it work outside of it? Because we still have to obey the laws and the principles of our community. And that's the thing of our society. And that's the thing. We don't want to create rebels by choosing alternative education. We want to create independent thinkers. And there's a difference between, rebel could have positive and negative connotation.
Well, if you're rebelling against the corrupt system, it's okay.
Right. But then you have to develop some kind of system of belief where you understand what is good and what is not, and what should be rebelled against and what should not be rebelled against.
Correct.
And so this is why we believe that the parents should be very much educators at home about those values. You, as the parents, even if you're sending your child in a public system, the values you're passing on to your children are irreplaceable. You cannot have the school teach your child values. They could teach your child the basics of things. And I think that's what the education system is. That independent thinking, entrepreneurship, all kinds of, street smarts and things should be taught at home, should be taught outside of those academic areas. So we touched on homeschooling, we touched on co-ops, and I would like to go into pods now, because those are really the big rage, and it's such a buzzword. I see school pods. Well, I wanted to talk first in general what different pods could be, and then we'll come back to this, because we do want to end with School Pods Canada. So you have now things, pods could be used interchangeably with micro schools. And you know what? I had a mom ask me, so how are your school pods different from private schools? Like, if you still hire a teacher and pay them to teach your child, and that's in pods, where the parents are the ones who are the decision makers. There's no administration, there's no principal and vice principal and secretary and all that. That the parents are it. That's what pods are. Now, you could have micro schools, and what micro schools are, an independent teacher, or maybe a partnership of educators who have come together and they have created something that has a school structure, but it doesn't have that set curriculum that a public school would have. And I was just even reading a discussion earlier today. Somebody says, who wants to do sovereign schools? That's a new term that's coming up now. And some lady said, well, what's sovereign school? Well, sovereign school is really a school that's put together by the community, and it doesn't adhere to the public system or to the public curriculum that is prescribed. But the people come together and they decide what is important for their children to learn. And so that's what now pods are. This is where the creativity comes. Either the teacher offers something that the community might want, or the community comes together and decides what they want. They hire a teacher to teach that. So that could be so different schools. What are school pods? The model that we have developed. Now we can go to.
Oh, we can do it now? Okay.
Let's do the slide. Darryl,
right.
take it from here.
Okay. So, School Pods. School Pods Canada is an education company that combines the best elements of public, private, and homeschool education. We are professional educators and amateur parents.
And professional parents.
Amateur. We only have one. Homeschool groups are taught by a professional educator, and it's systematic, but it's customizable.
All right. So how is it different from private school? This is where the parents are involved. Okay. But how it's similar to a school, well, you hire a teacher. In public school, though, you have no say who your teacher is going to be.
Nope.
In school pods, you actually.
And we all have stories about that teacher, don't we?
Give feedback. Yeah. Well,
but were you ever that teacher?
But the thing is not, and you know what? It's not that you're that teacher or you're that student. It is personalities don't always work together. So refer to our show about personalities.
Episode 21 and 22.
So sometimes it's just the personality. Sometimes it's just the system within which the teacher has to function or the child has to function.
Right.
The parents are the ones who also have a say on what the curriculum should look like, what activities could be included, shouldn't be included. So there is, how is it like public school? Well, we want to make sure that the children are learning. There's a foundation laid. And then there's a building blocks of learning. The public school is supposed to be doing that, but with whatever's happened the past few years, that's even. So we're coming to fill in the gap of that. And how is it like private school? Again, you can have a specific focus of the pod, but really the idea of School Pods Canada is that we have an academic foundation and social life skills foundation for the children that the parents get to contribute to.
Okay. So it is a professional company, and unlike a lot of other pods, and we've explained the different kinds of pods that we have out there. We've got forest schools, we've got social pods. School Pods Canada is really focused on the academics. We believe that in order for a child to succeed, they really need a good foundation in the basics of reading, writing, math, basic sciences, geography, history, things like that, because you've got different philosophies out there, and there's the kind of the unschooling where you kind of let the child lead as to whether he or she might be interested, and that's what you focus in on. And while I think it's important,
I think that's good for the choleric children.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what we got to study, Mom and Dad. The children, the A-type personalities.
Right. But children have to be led. They don't know what they don't know. And, we have one student, for instance, here in the pod you're teaching, and he just really has it out for math. He does not like math. But let me tell you, you don't get very far in this world if you don't have basic math skills.
If you let our children decide what we're going to study based on their interest, sometimes I've seen discussions in homeschool groups where the children are about 9 years old or 10 years old, and they still are not really reading.
Yeah.
And the mom's starting to say, you know what? Because you know what? Reading is a valuable skill in life, and the earlier you learn it, the more you get to practice it. But
It's not only valuable, it is absolutely not.
it's
You don't get anywhere in this world
well,
without being able
and
to
we
read.
just talked about that the slaves who were illiterate, they would remain slaves, but the slaves who actually could read, they had an opportunity for freedom.
Yeah.
And so, and you have to think of ourselves that way. And not only do we want to learn the basic skills in the academics, but I'm working with grades 6, 7, and 8, and I want to teach them how to read a text, analyze a text, understand the features of a text, understand the intention of the author that is writing the text. I mean, these are things that need to be taught.
Yeah, because you're going to read a document, and you got to be able to discern what the purpose is, what the goal is, and all those kinds of things. And so it's very important that children are led to study the basic foundational skills you need to be successful in life.
And I like the customizable education, the PDCA, because, we can have a certain idea how we want to teach the kids, but because if it's a small group and the method that's chosen could change slightly, or the way the pod runs.
And PDCA stands for plan, do, check, and adjust. So you set the plan, you establish the curriculum, you execute it, and then you check it after to see where it needs to be adjusted, and then you make the appropriate adjustments, because not everything's going to work for every kid.
Right. And so the reason we've also started School Pods Canada, because we want to provide support for both the teacher and the parents, because every homeschooler will tell you. We had a homeschool mom presenting and saying, not every day is good in homeschool.
Mm-hmm.
And many days you may want to quit. Well, you may want to do the same as when you're running a pod or when you're part of a pod. So we're here to support you and problem solve and adjust things.
Because if you've got a teacher and the parents don't agree and there's nobody to mediate, I mean, that can get a little messy. And so what we are here to do is to help with that and say, okay, well, everybody's got a contract with us. Everybody's got an agreement with us. And so therefore we say,
hold everybody accountable.
This is what you've agreed to. So let's work this out.
And we provide insurance, which is the last point.
So what you don't get with school pods is ideology. We believe that a school that your child is at should reflect your values. And so if there are different competing philosophies out there, whether it be religion or sexual identity,
be respectful of your values, but deal with truth. Right. And facts.
We've got this whole thing where kids are furries in school now, and they're identifying as animals. Well, they're not. Okay. And,
biologically or not, no matter what you believe. Right.
Yeah. And belief does not make anybody, because people believe all kinds of things that aren't true. People believe that, gravity doesn't exist, or that the earth is flat, or things like that. Well, it doesn't matter what they believe. It doesn't make it true. And so, and the other thing, of course, is
everybody else doesn't have to also accept it. And you were talking, school pods are free of medical mandates. Those who specialize in medicine, truly follow medicine, should be trusted not to school.
So in order for a pod to be put together, 3 components that are needed. We need the committed parents of at least 5 children. We have to have a safe location. It can be someone's house. It can be an office. It can be a church. Just so long as we're guaranteed that it stays open regardless of what happens, in case the government gets some other crazy ideas about the fact that we all need to separate from each other.
It's just a place where the children can learn. And so we are unaffected, and we want to do that independent learning.
So we don't need a public building where they can shut us down anytime. And then the third component is the professional educator comes in after that. And so we got to ask ourselves, well, what exactly is community? Community is a group of like-minded people who are building together for a common purpose or cause. Mm-hmm. We have similar values. We have a localized economy, and we have a protection. So what we need to do is we need to be protecting one another. And if you look at what biblical community was in the Bible, if you look at the book of Acts, it says that as the Holy Spirit fell, and the church began, it said that everyone kept feeling a sense of awe. Many wonders and signs were taking place through the apostles. And all those who believed were together and had all things in common. They began selling their property and possessions and were sharing them with all, as anybody might have any need.
Right. And because of that, we tell people that there's no such thing as typical day in a school pod or a typical type of school pod.
Yeah.
It should reflect the community.
Exactly. And so as we wrap this up, we just want to encourage people. If you have a desire to establish a pod, it can be in Canada, it can be in the United States. We're happy to work with you wherever you are.
Yes.
Come to the website, fill out the questionnaire, and start working on your network to find others, because there's too many people who still want to call us up and say, I have my 6-year-old.
My child needs a pod.
Yeah,
we
do you
need
have
a community.
one? Yeah, it's right on the shelf beside my
Right.
book up there. No, it doesn't work that way.
It's different now. Now you have to come together, and as a community, you have to really, you're the essential component to a school pod.
Yeah, so we work with you. We'll provide you with material. We'll help you in the identifying of other people who are interested. But everybody's got to roll up their sleeves and get this done for the sake of our children. And so we want to thank everybody for joining us once again, whether you've been live or on demand. And we will continue to put this material out there so that you can make the best decisions possible for your children. We want to thank everybody. Have a great week, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week right here on Messianic Lamb Network, on YouTube and Facebook, on the Smarten Up Show. See you soon.
Bye for now.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.